Right now at 6, look out for survey crews on the Belmont Bridge in Charlottesville. They're beginning work to replace the crumbling roadway. Plus, you are looking live at a celebration of Martin Luther King Jr. just getting started in Albemarle County. We will show you how the community is honoring King's civil rights legacy. Glad to have you with us on this Sunday. I'm Matt Talhelm. Your news at 6 starts now.
Live in high definition from the area's most experienced news team. This is NBC 29 HD News at 6.
Come out way ahead as a nation, as a country. We're going to come out way ahead because I know what we have. I know how talented these people are.
First tonight, 30 senior staffers are sworn in as new assistants to President Donald Trump. The group includes the president's son-in-law, his campaign manager, and a contestant on The Apprentice. The Trump team is creating a contentious second day of his presidency over the size of the crowd on Inauguration Day and why more cabinet nominees have not yet been confirmed. Tomorrow may be controversial too. President Trump is expected to announce he's moving the U.S. Embassy in Israel. NBC's Jennifer Johnson has the details in our top story from Washington.
All enemies, foreign and domestic.
President Donald Trump at the swearing in of White House senior staff, including son-in-law Jared Kushner.
We are going to do some great things over the next 8 years.
But the Trump team is angry that only 2 of 21 cabinet picks have been confirmed. Senate Democrats have held up Mike Pompeo's appointment as CIA director over his potential support of waterboarding.
So to have a discussion for a few days when this man will have enormous power and be in office maybe for up to 4 years makes eminent sense.
Pompeo joined President Trump at the CIA Saturday. The president supporting the same agency he criticized for reports of Russian hacking during the election.
There is nobody that feels stronger about the intelligence community and the CIA than Donald Trump.
President Trump also tried to show support for the masses of women who marched on Washington Saturday, tweeting peaceful protests are a hallmark of our democracy, even if I don't always agree. And the White House is still defending Press Secretary Sean Spicer's comments about the inauguration crowd being the largest in history.
The first time he confronts the public, it's a falsehood?
You're saying it's a falsehood, and they're giving Sean Spicer, our press secretary, gave alternative facts.
Mr. Trump will also reportedly announce Monday he's moving the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. The Palestinians are among many who see that as a threat to Middle East peace. The Senate is expected to approve the nomination of Mike Pompeo as CIA director late Monday, as well as put through Rex Tillerson as Secretary of State. In Washington, Jennifer Johnson, NBC 29 HD News.
The day of the Women's March saw the second highest ridership numbers ever for Washington, D.C.'s Metro Rail. The Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority says there were more than 1 million trips Saturday. The only day ridership was higher was January 20th, 2009, President Obama's first inauguration. Hundreds of people from Central Virginia are back home tonight after taking part in the Women's March in Washington. 426 women and supporters packed into these 8 buses for the trip Saturday morning. They returned late last night. Organizers say reservations for the trip reached capacity in just a couple days. They hope the march's message resonates with the entire country.
If we're really going to be a great country, we have to be inclusive. You know, we have to be strong and take care of one another, and we can't assume that I know better than you about your own life.
The bus organizers say they hope that the fight for equality continues so they can travel to or organize another march. The Women's March is now calling on supporters to complete 10 actions in the first 100 days of Donald Trump's presidency. NBC 29 covering Virginia tonight. The Stafford County Sheriff's Office is investigating a man's death after a fight at an apartment complex near Fredericksburg. The dispute happened around 7 o'clock Saturday night at the Madison Falls Run apartment complex. That's on Route 17. The Sheriff's Office says the man was fighting with another person. They say the investigation is ongoing. Today marks 1 year since North Korea announced it had detained a University of Virginia student for an alleged anti-state crime. 21-year-old Otto Warmbier from Ohio was sentenced to 15 years in a hard labor prison after a televised public confession for trying to steal a propaganda banner from a hotel. There's been little public word about what has happened to Warmbier since. The U.S. State Department says it continues to actively work for his earliest possible release, calling the punishment unduly harsh. A court date is set in a federal lawsuit challenging a Virginia law that automatically suspends driver's licenses from people who can't afford to pay their court costs and fines. The Charlottesville-based nonprofit Legal Aid Justice Center filed that suit last summer on behalf of 4 plaintiffs. A federal judge in Charlottesville will hear arguments on motions in that case in February 2nd. The DMV is hoping to have the lawsuit dismissed. The trial is scheduled for December. The project to replace Charlottesville's crumbling Belmont Bridge is moving forward this week. Crews will be out surveying the structures that hold up that roadway and keep traffic moving safely across the railroad tracks below. NBC 29's Taylor Gleason has the new details for us. She's live in our Charlottesville newsroom. Hi, Taylor.
Matt, survey crews are analyzing the Belmont Bridge to see what is structurally unsafe. They'll also determine whether its measurements are the same as in the information in the city's request for proposals to replace that bridge. Surveying is the first major phase in the design portion of the project. Crews measure the failing elements, including the concrete chipping away through the sidewalk and damage at the expansion joints between the bridge spans. Charlottesville City Councilor Bob Fenwick hopes the wearing down of the bridge over time doesn't end up costing the city extra money.
You want to make sure that the RFP was correct, for one thing, the dimensions. If our schematic is off and what the bid documents say it is, then that's an additional cost that will be on the contract.
Fenwick says the Belmont Bridge hasn't had any extensive maintenance work since it was built back in 1961. A committee of community members, the contractor, and the city are hoping to talk over the design within the next few weeks. Now, public hearings will be scheduled once the total surveying is done and the proposed design of the reconstructed bridge is agreed upon. Bob Fenwick hopes that will be by early spring.
Okay, Taylor Gleason with the update for us from our Charlottesville newsroom. Thank you, Taylor. VDOT is warning drivers to expect some heavy traffic along Emmett Street in Charlottesville, heading toward the John Paul Jones Arena tonight. You are looking live from our Union Bank and Trust traffic camera there on Emmett Street, just a little north of the arena at Hydraulic Road. You can see some traffic there on the right side of your screen. That's what's heading toward the arena. The band 21 Pilots will perform a concert at JPJ. It starts at 7 o'clock. So VDOT's encouraging people to stay away from that area until around 8 o'clock tonight, unless you are heading to that concert. Right now, people in Central Virginia are honoring the legacy of slain civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. You are taking a live look inside Covenant Church on Rio Road in Albemarle County. That's where the 32nd annual MLK Community Celebration is underway. You can see University of Virginia President Teresa Sullivan just wrapping up some comments. The service started at 5 o'clock. It features the community choir and several speakers. The winner of the Charlottesville MLK Student Essay Contest will also read his essay. We will share more sights and sounds from the celebration tonight on your news at 10 and 11. The University of Virginia is honoring the legacy of Dr. King all month long with the theme Silence is Betrayal. Today's event was a special screening of the documentary Anita, Speaking Truth to Power. It follows Anita Hill's story of standing up to sexual harassment that she experienced while working with U.S. Supreme Court Justice nominee Clarence Thomas.
And by speaking out, it brought attention to harassment, sexual harassment, particularly in the workplace. And there are a lot of women have come forth since that time to speak up and speak out.
Anita Hill will be giving the MLK celebration's keynote address on Thursday at the Paramount Theater in downtown Charlottesville. A brewery recalls bottles of beer that could break when you tip one back. We have details ahead in consumer news. Plus, the death toll rises as severe storms barrel through the southeast.
Yeah, some amazing footage coming from there. Fortunately for us folks, not dealing with severe weather, but some heavy rains eventually here late tonight, lows in the 40s. The breeze is picking up as well, and you're going to want to plan on a very wet morning commute with some heavy downpours. We'll track all this hour by hour coming up with Futurecast.
And the Virginia wrestling team takes on Virginia Tech in its first ACC match of the season. We will have the highlights a little later in sports.